Okay, so I have my model, and I've built my site using the contour information off of the GIS. I've used the subregion tool in Revit to create the site areas, and I've used the in-place mass tool to create my surrounding buildings. Before I keep going, what I want to do is have a look at my model, and I just want to clean things up a little bit. So one of the first things I want to do is get rid of all of that imported information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my visibility and graphics tab here in the properties box. I'm going to come along to the imported categories tab, and I can turn off all of the imported categories in my view, which leaves me with just the Revit model. And the other thing that's quite nice to do is use my section box, check that it's not hidden in my view, and come into the top view and just adjust my section box so I can just tidy up my drawing, my model, a little bit before I start extracting some views and information out of it. So once I have my section box in there, I'm just going to add a little bit more to the base and a little bit more height. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hide in my view the section box. So we can see my model, three-dimensional, few buildings scattered around it, and our site. So if I come in now to my top view, using my view cube, and turn on my shadows, notice that the shadows are coming from the top right down to the bottom left, and if I rotate around, the shadows are always in that same direction. So if I have a look to see what's happening here, if I come to my graphic display, down to lighting, I can see that the sunlight's coming from the top right, so that makes sense. That's what I'm seeing in my model here. If I click on this, I'll see that I can actually set, through these stills, single day and multi-day, I can actually set the model to a particular time and place. Okay, so location I have actually set as our site, and I could set different times of the year create a still image. What I want to do is have a look at the sun on the site throughout a day, and in this instance we might have a look at the summer solstice, and you can set any day you like. You can adjust the time here, so we might look at from sunrise to sunset, and hit apply. Okay, so we see the sun has gone completely over our entire site. Okay, so we want to have a look at how we can adjust this and make it useful to see. We can obviously turn off our shadows, but if we have a look at the sun path next to us here and click on it, we can actually preview our solar study. We can click through and play the animation, or we can click through the frames, and we can see that we're actually at 11 o'clock now in the morning, 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon. So we can actually work and model on our drawing in summer at a particular time of the day and see what's happening. So that's pretty useful, pretty nice. And we can click through, we can see those shadows happening in all the different views. If I rotate now this time, let's make the shadow a bit more dramatic, I'll see that the shadow is remaining consistent and moving based on where our model is. If I come to the Manage tab, I can actually set my project location. When I do that, I have this little box open, and you can see I've dropped my pin. I can move that around, change the location. I can zoom in, and I can just make sure that this is, more or less where our site is. Okay, and hit OK. So we can be really precise about where we place things. Now, we have another little checkbox here, the sun path. If we turn that on, we can actually see our sun in our scene. Okay, and as we move our frame, we can actually see the sun moving, which could be quite nice if you want to export some stills using that. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this view as we're seeing it, and I'm going to export this series of stills from it. So I come to Export, just scroll down the bottom, I can save a solar study as images and animations. I'm going to save all my frames. I'm going to make it a hidden line, and I'm going to include the date stamp. And these dimensions will probably be fine from what I'm doing here. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to create a folder to save my images in. And I'll give them a nice title, Summer Solstice, and I'm going to select a series of PNGs in this instance. Okay. Now, if I come to my solar study folder and preview these images, I can click through. I've got the time at the top, and I've got a nice image with the solar study on it. I can also, if I like, I can set up a three-dimensional view, a camera, and see what's actually happening on my site. Okay. Straight away I need to just clean up some of those bits of information, turning off my import categories, turning on my shadows, I'm just coming to my graphic display, looking at my lighting, and setting the day that I'd like to see my study from. Okay. Previewing my solar study, you can see I can see shadows changing across my site. So this could be quite useful if, say, I wanted to do an aerial image of my solar study. I can select my camera, show the camera, maybe lift the camera up now, and have a look at my new 3D view. Let's change my frame, and again just preview my solar study across the site. If I want to export that information, again, export my solar study, include the date and timestamp, going to go up one, create a new folder, aerial, and here again are my images in an aerial view. So you can use these then as part of your analysis study to show how the sun and the shadows are falling across your site, and you can start to think about how we might use this with a bit more power as we start designing later on.